And it's Friday. Okay. Give it a second. I think I have some music playing here. I think I'm also streaming to LinkedIn as well. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on two chats. Nice. Okay. And I think important. Let's jump straight in. Where are we so far? So we have the blog section sort of done. We can click through into the pages. I have to obviously style the blogs as well. Then also, what else do I have to do? Then I have to put in the next section, which is, this one's going to be a bit fun because I'm going to play around with it a lot to try and get something weird or like nearly like a carousel, but also work with the buttons, because I think I'd like it if I could, you know, get the buttons to click and it swipes across and swipes in and everything else. But we'll see. I might be over ambitious for this evening, but even if I get the styling done up and showing and changing, we might animate it next week. Let's have a look. Now, let me make sure everything's working on the live feed. All good. Great. Now, this is, in case anyone didn't see why I have two designs here, I should probably just throw away this one. This is the old design. This is the one that Adrian did and or improved upon. So this is where we need to get to today. What do I need? I don't need to review this right now. Let's have a go at it. And just let me know in the chat if the music, if you can hear music and hear me. That's helpful as well. Okay, I will probably use frame motion. I have that open in case I get to the animation sides. But let's have a look. Also, fire this link into the Discord. Now, let's jump in and start creating a new section. We will want, I'm going to actually put this on a separate page so I can swipe between it. Let's go over to the code, create a new section. What is this section going to be called? Services. Praveen, welcome. New folder, services. Well, probably a bad name because it's not a technical service, but it's a section. We'll be fine. The folder's just going to look weird on this one. And let's put in a new file. This is .js. And a new file, services.module.css. And I'm just going to copy and paste something in just so I have the, I don't know why I'm so lazy that I wouldn't just bootstrap this or just write it in myself, but how and ever. Let's import services.module.css. Services. And let's just put in a H1 here to see if it's working. Nice. Okay. And I'm going to export this like the other sections. No, that's definitely not what I want. Does anyone have any fun plans for the weekend? You have a festival this weekend, Praveen. I think my friend Tej was telling me as well that he's celebrating here to some festival of lights, is it? What? Oh, I spelled export wrong. Okay, what have I... Services. Did I spell something wrong? Let's try that again. Unexpected. Oh, from. Never mind. And what goes on in that festival, Praveen? I have no idea. Dun, dun. Cheers. I'm on a thing called a Puka, which is an Irish beer today. Dry hop, lemon sour, berry, hibiscus, and ginger. It's like a cocktail, really, isn't it? And let's go into the main page and import this in and see what's going on then. James, I would never stop supporting the beer trade. That's where most of my salary goes to, unfortunately. How's business, James? Sorry, in the LinkedIn chat, an old friend of mine and brewer, James Brown, is happy to see I'm still drinking Irish beer anyway. All right, we have that. And let's start filling out this section then. So we have a gradient here. I'm not going to bother with the gradient right now because I want to get down to the details here. Call it services. Maybe it'll be easier. They would go broke, honestly. You think I'd be better with my habits at this stage. But no, can't beat it. What new beers? Have you been brewing beer, James? I haven't actually seen some of your beers. Long story. So, Diwali, it's a long story, but we light lamps, pray firecrackers, and much more. So is it kind of like our Halloween, I guess? Nearly. Well, it's actually close enough as well, so it's understandable. Beer to accounting. Yeah, I'm beer to code to beer. I hope you still have some stuff in the bath that you're brewing, James. Max Programming's here. Hey, Max. Okay, I'm getting distracted by the chats, which is bound to happen. I will need these images in there as well, but let's get these boxes done first. And how are we going to do that? We're going to start with the header. I think that's the easiest thing to do. Why am I in here? I need to be in the services, section, services. suppose the accounting, James, will help you pay off your beer habit. That's the main thing. So we have that. We want to center align that. So I'm going to start making this. There's no point in putting this as a div because it's a section. So I'm going to put this in as a section. I am using Next Max because I've been writing React code for about 6 years, close to 6 years now anyway, I think. Since React 0 point something anyway. So I tend to not stray away from ReactJS all that often anymore. And sections container, let's go into here and I'll say container dot container text align center for the moment. Actually, I'm going to say background is going to be, I was going to say blue for a second, or is it var blue or var pink? Blue, just to be easier on my eyes. Perfect. And I think it's text color, isn't it, that I have? Let's go back into my variables. It's amazing how much I forget in 1 week. Text color. Yeah, so I want to change that. Text color is now going to be white. Yeah, it's so it depends what you're building, really, Max, because white. Yeah, I totally get that. In fairness, James, it would take. I've had to really push myself up in the world to afford all the beers I want to buy at times. Designing and styling. Yeah, designing and styling is difficult with these things. That's why I suppose, Max, a lot of companies will have, they'll just have designers and things, because usually it's hard to get a developer that's good with design, and also with actually developing the code as well, especially in the UI front. What is the Refactoring Ui, I think is the name of the book. This is probably the best supplement I got if you're trying to learn how to be better at it. It's a little bit pricey, and there's some free articles here, but the book in here is phenomenal. It's the guys who made Tailwind, so it's phenomenal to, if you like the Tailwind styling and things, it's all about how they kind of think about that and little lessons and tips and tricks. It's an awesome thing. So that Refactoring UI is definitely a good place to go if you want to learn how to be a little bit better with UI. Now, why didn't my header change color here? Let's have a look to see if I am not changing. H color as well. I don't know why I have. I should probably just do text color here, shouldn't I? No, that doesn't work. Okay, let's not try to be smart then. Just take this in. Akshay is in the LinkedIn chat as well. Great to have you here. Where am I? Oh yeah. Right. Text align. No, align. And center. Huh. Doesn't even let my text in there. We'll worry about that in a second then. Oof. 11 in India. Praveen, as always, stays up late to see these things. He's a crazy man. See you later, Max. Now, right, we have that. We have the services. Let's just save that. Let's put a little, I'm going to put a wrap around this. Div. Last name is going to be styles dot title. And in that dot title, we are going to, I could say title P, text align center. Actually, I can just justify content. That's what I'm going to do. Forget that. Let's go and not be doing it the old school way for some reason. Display flex. Whoops. And flex. All right. Oh yeah, I'll still have to text align that, so never mind about that. I don't think there's actually much point in that because let me just put some margin of 40 pixels, 0 for now. Padding. Placing that. All right. Dun, dun. Okay, so we have services, we need the title text. And let's start on the next section, which is the fun part really, isn't it? The buttons. So I'm going to make 4 buttons in a container. And then the first and last child are going to have rounded edges. The active one is going to have a different style. So let's start stringing together some of that. So I know I'm going to need some state. React. And we'll put that in here. There is going to be a change probably in this then. I'm going to say const active, or we'll say panel set active panel. We'll say 0 for the moment, and we'll worry about that after. This isn't going to be too dynamic. I'm not going to be updating this too much, so I could dynamically generate buttons and things, but I'll just do it the easy way. And that is going to be putting in a little div. And then a few buttons. What are they called? Try building the project and see if the image component breaks with case-sensitive image extension. Huh. Oh yeah, you had this issue, didn't you, where it was breaking? Yeah, I'll check that out in a couple of minutes. Why? Okay. All right, we have our default button styles, so we're gonna have to override them. Yeah, that's a weird one you had, isn't it, Praveen? I'm just going to throw this link over to somebody here, streams. What happened when you did that, Praveen? Was there something weird happened? It just broke completely, or did you fix it after? Let's take these in now, so I don't forget them later. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Oh, Chakra. Yeah, because there is some issues even with older versions of Frame Motion and things like that. So there is a couple of breaking changes. So we'll see. Oh, look, Flavio's here. And of course, I have a couple of Irish beers and things to get me through the day. In good company now. I hope you're having just PNG to PNG. Oh. And Akshay is looking for a job abroad. You should jump into our Discord as well, Akshay. If you jump into the YouTube link that's on the description, you can join our Discord. We have job postings and everything else in there as well. I'll post in the link to the Discord. Or Praveen, if you can throw a link to the Discord in there, you just hit the invite button. You should have access to do that. Or it might block when you put a link in, maybe. I'm not too sure. I'll have a look. I'll get an invite link. It's important to be able to invite people into the server. Invite people. Edit invite link. Link, copy. At least there's the Discord link. Yeah. That'll keep us. That's where we chat about all things, all the fun things. So let's jump in. We're gonna try style this up now. So we have product planning. Let's put this as styles or class name. Oh, I'm tired today after that week, I'll tell you that. Styles dot buttons, or button group, I'm gonna call that. And let's copy this. Display flex, and we'll say width is, well, we'll figure out the width in a second. Actually, I'm going to see what that is. Okay, that's there, and we can justify content center. That's across the main axis. And then I can say dot button group. Button border radius is going to be 0 now. Background color is going to be transparent, or how can I turn that off? Because I've obviously I set this in the defaults, so let me have a look at how I've done the buttons here. Okay, I have a variable. App host here. Hey, app host, how's things? So let's change that here, I guess. Or can I just have to do an RGBA? 0, 0 or 255. First, I'll see if this works. 255, and then is it 100 or 1? Huh. Button background does not seem to be changing. That's fun. Ah. Why isn't that? Okay, so the background's overriding that there then now. Beautiful. How thick are the borders on this? 2 pixels solid white. Nice. And in each button, I'll probably want a bit more padding, don't I? What's this look like? This, or it's just a bigger font, isn't it? Font size. Let's have a look in here. I need to delete that index. Var font size var h1, font size. Let's say var h3 for the moment. Spitballing it just to see. It might be all right. It's a bit better. Maybe h4. Yeah. And then we'll say some padding of, or are they equally spaced? How much width is on these? They are equally spaced, or else it's going to look weird, isn't it? Let me click it. Even if I get the weight of this one, what's that? 224. So let's say 200. Width 200. 20 pixels. 24 pixels. Let's just copy it. Okay, we need more. H4. Interesting. Let's see, what is the size on this? Fun on the designs on this. 18, so it's a P, isn't it? Really? That's too small. Looks a bit better. Yeah, it's a once off. I'm going to use that, so I'll jump out for that, and I'll have to change these with variables in a minute because I'm being terrible for not overriding the variables when I should be. And then I can say button group and last child, isn't it? I always get these. Nth last child. border radius is going to be 0. I'm just going to say 50 pixels for the moment. 50 pixels 0. See if that works. No, it does not. Why not? Boom, boom, boom. Let's see if it is button plus button. So what do I need to do here? I thought that last child. How does that work? Do I need a number? Last child, CSS. Ah, it's last child. Aha. I even typed the search term in. It's not int at all. It's still broken though. We're not working. Let's have a look. Why did that not work? Refresh it just to make sure. Errors are gone, or what's in the errors here? Okay, the blogs need unique keys. I'll fix that as well in a minute. And then, interesting. Another colon, like it. Is that all it is? Maybe it's button group button. Is that it? I'm just going to say border 2 pixel solid red. See if I'm targeting anything with this at all. Obviously not. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, where's Jay? No, there's some... If Flavio's still here, he probably knows as well. Mr. Lopez is always good at solving nearly every problem. No better person. Button group, button, last child. Why isn't it working for me? First child, last of type. What is going on? Nope. Okay, that works. So I should be able to say border radius then. And jump in. What is the border radius on this? Where is the border radius? Am I missing? Why can't I see that? Border radius. I'll just put it in as 50 for now. 0, 50 pixels, 50 pixels, 0. Nice, that doesn't look so bad. And then I can also, I'm gonna copy this and I'll do first of type. And invert that. Nice. Looks pretty good now. So we have that, and we'll have the dot button group, dot button, yeah, we'll have is active. Actually, I wonder how am I going to do that. Let's see. What's that look like? Okay, it's purple. Not so bad. This would be way nicer if I could get these damn variables working for the for the piece I was working on here, because this should have worked with a variable, and I'm not sure why it's not. However, actually, if maybe it's just the RGBA thing. So if I say button background now, I wonder will it work? Going off on a tangent, but who cares? It's Friday after all. Button. Just make it a little bit cleaner. Nope, doesn't work. Weird. Anyway. I'm going to give one of them the class Vactive to try that out for the moment. And then the color is going to be var. I think I have a thing called purple in there. We're going to find out very quickly anyway. And class name equals styles dot active. Perfect. Nice, that's not so bad. Now we need button group. We'll put a bit of margin, I think, at the bottom of this. $40 pixels. Just see what that looks like. And then when I put in the next chunk, it should be fine. So let's put in, I'm just going to copy this for a second to make sure everything's working as I expected. That's perfect for me. Start services. It's going to get confusing, but this is the actual services section. And we will say this is a div of service container, we'll say. And then we'll call this the style of service. The fun of working on your own code base. You can be cryptic because I hope nobody else has to actually look through this and solve it instead of me. So that'll be nice. Interesting. Let's see. What do I have to put in there now? So we want a whole container in here. But that's with the max width of the whole thing. I do really need to put a container thing in, or a variable for the max width, I think, on this. Because I keep on, if you notice here on the designs, this is the same max width. This is the same max width. So I do need to put some constraints on it. And this is the same max widths. But that's I mightn't even get to the style and the content, but I'd like to start kind of animating this a little bit, because that's a kind of a difficult problem as well. And I don't know, I know it might take me a couple days to get it done, because I'm going to try and use Framer Motion, which I haven't used in a long time, to try and be able to, with the content here, be able to actually swipe it if I'm on mobile, or even swipe it across, update the buttons, and make it look pretty cool. I'm also going to try and figure out how to do it without taking things off the screen, maybe, so it's SEO friendly. Yeah, I'm just going to go a bit nuts. I'm definitely going to need some extra eyeballs with that one. So in here, we are going to put in div of with class name of, we'll say styles dot summary, and styles dot details. Thanks, Paul. You should jump into the YouTube link that's on the top of the LinkedIn chat there. That's where most of the chatting does happen on these things. Everyone does end up fighting after a few beers in the YouTube chat. They're usually just with me more than anyone else though, so that's pretty normal. So I'm gonna try and copy this summary, and we'll say H4 for title and P perfect, that's that. And then we have this side, which is going to be a couple of LIs and things. I'll worry about how I figure out how they work after, but I'll just get one working, and I'm probably going to duplicate it a few times and then work with that. Or should I put in some mock data? Maybe that's easier for now. Just to keep this clean, I'm going to make a new file, services data.js, and I'm going to export default const settings. Default, I probably don't even need settings, or export const settings, so I'll bring it in as a named import in case I have more than one settings for here. And we'll have an array of items here. I'm going to call this panels actually, and a few objects. So we'll say title is going to be, I'm just going to duplicate this until I have product planning. What else I'm going to have then is summary text. If I put in equals, that would help. And then, oh, don't want to change that. I'm going to probably have an array of details then. Details is going to be an array. I sure am on the owl YouTube. Oh, you're on the YouTube now. I see it because I can guess who the kints and the numbers that go back way too far that I would know. You know, a young fella like me wouldn't know the year 1984, Paul. So each one of these is going to have an object, and I'm going to say title, definition, and points. Copy that. We'll just do this for... Just going to grab 2 of these. I'm going to duplicate it. Nice. And what I'll do is points. This is meant to be... Yeah, okay. That's confused me because it's a multi-layer. Title points. Let's just copy this so I have it twice. See if it works when I actually use this data. You can see why I split this out now, because there's a lot of details in here, and if I threw it into the mix of all these things, I'm going to just copy this as well, and I'm going to change just the title to be product development. Development. Let's keep going. I'll just put in another product launch. How many with product planning, product development, product scaling. I think it is. It's the last one. I should know my own products at this stage. Yeah. The reason they're slightly unnatural words is trying to be somewhat SEO friendly and business friendly, which is difficult when you're used to, you know, talking to developers as well most of the time. So it's a little bit different. All right, so we have the services now in a nice, I think I can just export default array here, can't I? Oh, just put a const panels, export default panels, right? And in here, I'm going to import panels, or import the data from source data. And we are going to put an on click on here. We're going to start. This is probably where I should have dynamically done it, but we'll just do it manually and live with what we've done. This is definitely not a dry way, so I'll do it probably fix it up after, but I just want to get something working. So I'll say on click. And then we're going to say set, what do you usually call it? Yeah, set active panel. Set active panel to be 0. And so on. For all of these, 1. You see, if I generated these buttons, which I'll do after, I think as well, I'll just have some button settings. I'll automatically have the index, and if I add buttons, I can change it out as well afterwards. That'll be 2. And then this will be 3. And just for the moment, I'm going to panel okay, so we can see here that if you look really, really closely here, it is updating. Perfect. Let's zoom back out a bit. And I don't need this anymore. And then we will be able to generate the data inside here based on what's going on, or map over and create panels based on that. But I don't know whether I need to dynamically create the entire div. So what I'm going to do, well, yeah, I could return the entire component. So let's start with the easy way first, and then I'm going to make it gradually more complex. So I'm going to style it first, and then I will make a function that generates the content for here. And then the last thing I will try to do is create like a swipe animation for it so that I could swipe through it. Talk about overkill, and I might even leave the swipe animations for today just so I can get the overall design nearly finished. But I'd like it if it's swiped when I click the buttons and if a threshold was hit. So we'll play around and see where I get to. There's that. So the panel. So right now we can say there's no point really in doing anything. Yeah, maybe I'll just render out the thing const panels, or yeah, display panel. Take the key. And that is going to be equal to an arrow function. Boom, 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 boom. And in here, we are going to return this whole thing, really. This whole thing. So I'm going to say map, or yeah, data.map. I'll give it the data in. Data.map. Oh yeah, I can just render it out here. Never mind. I'm just being silly. I don't need this at all. Let's just get rid of that. Data.map. And we're going to have the item. Or the panel. But we'll call it item for now. And in case I need to do anything weird, let's just return the div. Or return the whole thing, isn't it? Oh, no, actually, it's just going to be the data. Yeah, it's just the one panel I want to display. Never mind. I don't want to display all of the panels. I want to display one panel. So that's where I was going in my head up here. So const return or display panel is equal to an arrow function that takes the key, or else what will happen is I'll just have 4 panels. So I do need to return all of this. My bad. That's what happens when you do this after a day of work as well. Brain is already shut off a little bit. And I'll say display panel. Got my curly brackets. And we'll say panel. Yeah, I'm going to try and make this nicer as well. Because this isn't SEO friendly either, because like I just won't have the data there unless you click on it. So there's no way for yeah, I was thinking that as well, Praveen, but I'm going to actually be taking all this out in a few minutes anyway. to replace it with some frame or motion. So there's no point in me overdoing anything that's going on in there, because right now I just need to style it and I just want to have the right panels activated. So it'll probably be overkill. So I can say, can I split this? Split right. This might be small for everyone. Can I close this? Just so I know what I have in the data dot title and data dot summary text. Let's change it to summary. It's nicer. And then in the details, I am going to say details.map. And for each item in here, we're going to do a map inside a map here. So this is going to be nice if we could statically render these things, but we'll see. So for each, I'm just going to get the titles out actually for the moment. Then I'll start styling things up. And I'll come back to this because I think this could take a while. Actually, I'm going to... Yeah, I don't need much other than the item. Oh. Item dot title. We'll put that into H4 for the moment. Nice. Great. So that's what it's meant to look like. Now let's see how terrible it looks at the moment. Broken. Nice. Details.map. Okay, data.details.map. That's why. Data doesn't have details, does it? Data should have details. Details. Am I pulling from an API? No, what I'm doing is I've just some static data here, Paul, that I've pulled in here. It's because I didn't save it. And what I'm trying to do is just, because I'll have 4 different panels, and if I change something, I don't want to have to go into the JSX and change it, that I've just made it up here. Now, what I might do as well on another video later is hook this up to Strappy, which is a headless CMS, so it'll be ready for an API then as well. So the nice part about generating these things dynamically. What is data? Good question. What data is the data is the services data. And I'm never actually picking which data. So I have to go data panel or data key that I pass in here. So data key. So that's what I need to do here. So it's data key and data key. And now you can see I have, I didn't change the summary text to all of them. So summary, and summary. So this is my data now. And when I go back in, as you can see, I'm changing titles here at the moment, which is a start. So now we can try and style these into cards as such. So at least, like I said, I know now that I could structure this on a CMS in this kind of manner, which is going to be nice. And I've recently done Strappy for another site. Like I'm using Strappy for Spark, and it's awesome. So that's why I'm hooking up the blogs here, is through a CMS, which is really nice. With Strappy. Strappy is awesome. Strappy.io. If anyone's not used it, it's a good thing. You can self-host it as well, so you can just throw it up on Heroku and pull the data from there. So it's pretty good for that kind of thing, I have to say. And you can put it as REST or GraphQL. Really enjoying that. It's been fun to use that one. That's a little bit of a tangent, but it's just because I know I'll keep on building on this site probably for a couple months, just to show a few techniques. Now, what do I want in here? We have the services container. Let's start styling things up. There is a max width on the services container, so let's close this because we have that in. And I will put ULs and LIs in here and everything after. I just don't really want to be bothered at the moment to get because it'll just waste too much time. And it's pretty boring to see me just inputting data into an object. I might do that off video. And we will put in here service container and add in display flex and justify content center. Perfect. And or actually, do you know what I want to do? I probably want to make this into a grid, really, don't I? Let me have a look. What is the design looking like? Yeah, so I'll probably want to split this 50-50. So I'll go 1F4, 1F4. Yeah, that'll be better. So let's display grid. Can you justify content center with grid? Let's see. Oh, it's still there. So I guess so. Grid, template columns, 1F4, 1F4. I'm forever. I really need to learn this. Every time, the last 3 weeks, I get stuck on the template columns. Let's just remove this for a second. Maybe I have it semantically wrong as well. So here is, oh yeah, because I have everything in one thing. So it's the service that I should be doing this with. It's not that thing at all. Yeah, I used Flexbox for a long time. So when Flexbox came out, I went nuts on Flexbox. And I used Flexbox for absolutely everything. But now I'm starting to mix Flexbox and Grid. They are meant to be used together. That's the reason there's two of them. And for certain use cases, Grid is better. And in this case, I want it to be a grid because I don't want it to flex. I actually wanted to keep it to a size and then snap into a different size. Sometimes I don't like that fluid look. So it's nicer to be just able to say, yeah, at this width it's this, and at this width it's this. Sometimes text and things looks a bit weird when you do it that way. So it's service rather than I use floats. Oh, get out of here, Praveen. You're done. Your time has come. Get out. So that's the reason this wasn't working the way I expected. And here's a good example. I can say dot services container and display flex and justify content center. And then what I will have is my summary and details. Float. You see, you laugh, Praveen. When I started developing, and it's not all that long ago, that floats were still a thing, unfortunately, because Flex and things had just landed. So yeah, you weren't able to do it because browsers just didn't support it. I forgot what it looks like here. What is it? Summary and details. So summary, and I'll just have a dot details just so I don't forget. And background of the details. Is var white. And background of this is what is the color on this? It's a one-soft colors. That's our black, isn't it? I think it is our black. So let's just put it as black. I'll check the variables in a second to make sure it is. Nice. It looks identical. Identical to what it's meant to be. So details are going to go back to black here. And black. It looks very harsh. Is that my black color? Let's just have a look. No, it's not. It's a slightly different color. So let's not use that. Let's do the one-off color for that. Yeah, it's a good time to be learning development when you have all these nice tools. It's a blessing and a curse right now to learn front-end development, especially because you have lots of nice tools, which is really fun, but the problem is you have to learn lots of tools. So before you had few tools and you just had to learn to hack your way around with them. Now you have tons of tools that you just have to figure it out slowly. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Might grab the linear gradient off the button then and see about adding the linear gradient here. What linear is on that? That's a nice, fun linear gradient at about a 45-degree angle. Background, where I did that with my button in here, just so it starts to look the right way. Let's take that into my services. Put this in here. And let's turn that 0.50. No. 0.3. Oof. I'm just guessing now, aren't I? I have to, how do I, maybe it's not what turn. I'm going to look this up now in a second. Let's add some padding to this as well. 40 pixels all around. Yeah, I keep clicking on the index CSS, but I know, you see, if I kill it, I don't know if I break anything because I haven't unconfigured this. Let's just check actually. If I delete this, do things break? A little, but not much. Enough that I don't care? Probably not. Let's see. Let's just delete it and see where it breaks. All right, styles.index doesn't exist. And that is in my meta stuff, I think, is it? No, it's in my app. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't delete that on day one. It's been there since the boilerplate. I just thought if I clicked it, it would break. So I just left it there. So, right, we are... That gradient can stay the way it is for the moment, I think. I'll figure out how to turn it slightly because I need to, I guess, keep turning it a little bit more. Let's close this. Don't need that. Loads of... Let's just close all. Cancel. What's in here? I guess I want to save that. I'm going to save it just in case I broke something. All right, we have that. We have that. We are going to start adding some styles to this. So what kind of padding is on this? We'll just have to eyeball it. So we'll say padding is going to be 100 pixels to the top, and then it's going to be 40 pixels. 40 pixels. Okay, that's kind of right. And then border radius is going to be 50 pixels, 0, 0, 50 pixels. That looks kind of okay now. What kind of border radius is it meant to have? 50, yep. It's good eyeballing. And then this one is 20. So 10 pixels or 20 pixels. Min height will say 400 pixels for the moment, just so it's slightly bigger. Okay, so now I don't want this to grow. So how do I go about that? I think I have to basically put a wrapper on the details. Figma, don't be sorry, Paul. It's Friday. I forget everything after this. Like I'm half asleep myself at the moment, so I totally get it. This is Figma. It's an awesome tool. I get as you can see, I'm using it quite a lot. But you can jump in and that's my branding guidelines and things, and it's just such a nice tool to have and play with. So I can click and grab things and do whatever else. Not too much yet, Stefan. You haven't missed too much. I'm getting there. I'm still tying myself in knots, as always. What I am going to do is put this in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and we'll say summary container for this, so that I can now align this in the center of that. So if I take this and I can say display. You've never heard of Next before finding my channel? Oh, that's interesting then. So Next is a full stack React framework. So it lets you actually write some APIs alongside some serverless APIs alongside your React code, so you can write a full stack application in Next.js, which is pretty nice. So I like it just because it gives me flexibility that if I want to add a database or I want to add something cool to an application, I don't need to build an entire Node application to say add something like a comment section. I can write some functions inside the framework to do that. It also then does a lot of optimizations, so you can statically render it, so it's just outputs like a HTML website, or you can server-side render it. And if you've ever tried to set up some server-side rendering on React.js stuff, it's a bit of a nightmare. It's not fun. So it just abstracts a lot of the complicated stuff away and gives you lots of optimizations out of the box. So it's a powerful tool. I'm using it a lot lately, and the reason I'm using it for this is just because I want to learn how to use it better, and I'm also in the middle of writing up a crash course on Next.js as well. So I'll be teaching how to use things like authentication and databases alongside your blogs and everything else. So that should be a few hour course that I'll put on the channel for free soon enough. It'll be there in the next month anyway. So it'll be, if you don't know Next.js, make sure you have subscribed to the channel, because I'll have a free course out on it very soon. Yes, I could. That will work as well. I just want to align item center, definition, and then what? I went over to the wrong one. And then let's put some padding. This has less padding. Details. Padding of 20 pixels. Nice. That actually doesn't look all that bad now. I won't bother with the image right now. And now I can toggle through these things. And let's add in some extra bits and pieces into the data just to make sure that some of the summaries are longer than others. Might as well. I think I have it over here. So like I have an old mobile version that I'll be playing with as well. I'm not looking forward to how I figure that out. I should really be thinking out as it, but product development, product planning. Let's just take product launch here. Well, I have it in a Google Docs anyway, so I can just yeah, let's not go near that. I'm just going to copy and paste this for a second. Yeah, Next.js is pretty hardcore, pretty excellent tool in fairness. I'm really enjoying using it. Hence why I'm using it on a Friday evening. Nice. Okay, so that's working as expected. I can cycle through the things. I have my different services. I have a couple of headers. I don't have the bullet points. Should probably put some bullet points in there now. Points. Let's go in and break things now. And in here, so I'm going to say, we'll make a fragment, which is holding it all together. And then I'm going to say item dot, is it details again? I'm always, yeah, item dot details. Oh, I'm already, or no, points. Points, this is what I want. Details dot title, and then points dot map as well. Item dot points dot map, and we're going to get each point And we are going to return li with a point. And we'll wrap this in a UL. Now we have some nice little bullet points there. So now it's starting to look like the way it's meant to look. And I can update that data very easily. I'm just going to, after this, I'll try and organize the data so I can copy and paste it in the next day. What else is left on this section? Let's have a look. We have the images. I think I have images for all of them, don't I? I might actually have to get new illustrations done for these things. Right, what I need to do anyway, which is get this to sit down under this. So really, margin top or margin bottom is a bit hacky. I don't really like doing this, but I don't really know off the top of my head. Margin bottom, say minus 100 pixels. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that's working a bit better. So let's say 300. Still not enough. 350. And then I can add some padding of 40, 0, 350 pixels. And that starts to look pretty sweet now, doesn't it? It's starting to have all those ripples and flows the way it's intended. It's like me with curves, you know? It's on that. Cheers. Okay, so now I'm gonna close this so I can have a good look at where we are at. We have cards, blah, blah. Should I start messing with Framer Motion? I know I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. I think Framer Motion will take me a whole evening. That's why I'm kind of a little bit terrified to go down it, because Framer Motion stuff can be complicated and I don't even know if it'll work. But however, if I'll leave it up to chat. Do you want to see some me lose my mind while I try to implement some animations for this? If I struggle, what I'll do is I'll ask Jay to come on with me next time. Maybe he'll help me out if I fail miserably. But should I start trying to add some animations to these different panels? Be nice if they swiped in and out. And what else can we work on if not? Well, there's a whole 2 other sections anyway. Get rid of this. Do we have a max width on this thing yet? That's something I've been wondering. I'm gonna start putting them in. What is my width on the designs? 110. I think, Stefan, the problem is I lost my mind a long time ago, and now it's about retaining the little bit I have left. I guess, how bad can it go? Let's see. I have an example I could lean on even. I'm just trying to see if I have anything that I could lean on to try and get something done. No, I've used it. I haven't used it in a while, Praveen. So that's why I'm trying to think of like, sure, look, let's see where we get. I'm going to start doing it. And whatever I get stuck at, I can just go and learn. And then next week I'll continue doing it. That's the fun in this stuff, isn't it? So I know I'm going to need two things. So I'd like if I could be able to swipe these things as well. And these changed. So I'm going to make this into like a carousel, basically. So what do I need to install? Let's import Framer Motion. I should probably go to the docs. I'm just trying to see. I have an old, like a really old Framer Motion project somewhere that I'm looking for on my desktop here to see what I need. Yarn add --dev Framer Motion. I'll probably need that if it's server-side render. So let's just add it and I can fix it afterwards. Yarn add Framer Motion and add motion or pop motion. I'm gonna have to look at this. Pop motion popcorn. I don't even know if it will work for this use case. That's why I'm trying to say, let's give it a shot. In the services, this might go off the deep end for some people if you're not used to, if you haven't seen this. It's a pretty cool toy, but it's a hefty toy as well. Let me just quickly go to Framer Motion so that people can see exactly the craziness that of what I'm going down. Oh, it's over here already. I have not started using the media queries yet. I'm going to leave the media queries to I'll do a session of just making it responsive because it should be very easy once I have a good core structure. And I do have the designs in mind. I'll show you here, Paul, for the media queries. It's just going to start snapping into a single column. So what I'm just going to do really is it's either going to be 3 columns or 1 column. I'm not going to really worry about tablet size. So it's just going to be going along and snapping things to look like this. So it's not too complicated to go along in one session to make it responsive. And even the recommended reading, I'm just going to make them stack and let them go on. And because I'm using grid, that should be pretty straightforward. That's what I'm hoping. Famous last words. So let me go to some examples on this because this Framer Motion is pretty cool. You get some pretty slick animations made with this stuff with very little code. Like there's some gesture animations. What time are we at? Yeah, I'll start it. I'm only going to get a little bit of this done, but we get some motion values, viewport scrolls. This is really cool for even doing blogs. See the way it calculates where you're at, and you could animate an SVG in. And yeah, there's some awesome stuff here. This is where I'm going to look at if I get stuck. So let's keep this open. And I'm going to animate the presence in and out. I'm going to use popcorn for what is the name of it? Wrap, I think it is. Yeah. So what wrap does, and it'd be very easy to write my own, I guess, if I had to really think about it. Basically what wrap does is when you increment to a max value, it will wrap around so the index will start again. So that when I go, say if I had 4 items and I go to 5, it will automatically go back to the first item. Which is really helpful when you're creating animations like this. So let's jump back over to this and import I'm going to need motion, which is they're like style divs, and animate presence, which basically tells when things are on and off the screen, I think. From, that's actually, I'm going to spell it wrong, so frame or motion, animate presence. That's way better. That way I don't have to embarrass myself spelling. And then I will need the import wrap from I don't know why that always does that. From at popcorn frame motion, or at popcorn pop motion popcorn. Yeah, so now I have those two things. This is where I could probably make a whole component just for this, and I might just make it up here for the moment, just to say, I could probably do it in the display panel. Display panel. No, I'm not going to do it there. I'm going to do a little different here. I'm going to say, we'll put I just, so I can do it a little bit siloed and not break things. Slideshow is going to be equal to an anonymous function. This is just going to be another component. I could break this out into another component. I probably will after. I just want to have the two things beside each other so that I can copy and paste everything, and then I'll remove probably the slideshow into somewhere else. And we have used state in here, and the weird thing we're going to do when we're setting up the state here, it might be a little bit weird if you're new enough to React. So we'll say return the div first with a test in there, so we have something, and put this down here. Slideshow and const. Yeah, so you know we have, say, the panel and the set panel that we were using before equals use state, but we're also going to have to track one more thing, and that is the direction that it's animating. VS Code must have extensions for FE. For what, Paul? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this multi-dimensional, and what it basically is I'm going to have the index of the panel that we're on and also the direction it's animated in. So if you swipe left, I'm going to say -1. If you swipe right, I'll say 1. So positive or minus integer. VS Code must have extensions for front end. What do you mean extensions? Like something to help us, like a drag and drop extension, so we could just drag and drop in things and get components looking well, or something else? And now this is going to become a multi-dimensional array direction. Okay, so that's a bit weird if you haven't seen something like this. I think I only have, 15 minutes. I haven't had my dinner yet. That's the only reason I'm looking at the clock. I need to order food. I prefer just to throw at something like this. It'll be fine. Because every time I change the panel, I'm going to change the direction. And I don't... It's a code smell. If you're ever doing something like set state, and then... Oh, set state, something... Why is that doing that? Something. And then you're doing another one. So if I was setting direction, then directly afterwards. That's calling 2 updates. And really, I just want to update it once when I do those things. That's a code smell. What I'd do if I had like an object or complex object, I would use a use reducer to just do it as well once. So like you don't ever really want to be, and that's why they have a use reducer. You don't ever really want to be like saying set state. You want to just set state once. And if you're setting multiple states or a complex piece of state, you should probably use reducer or something like that. Code and view output in the browser in real time. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a live button here. What's the extension I use? Live server. So if you're making normal, live server I have installed. You can use that just to view it in real time as well. But I have a server running here. It's just, if I split the screen now, I think it'd be a bit too small if I changed it up. So let me just change this. Does that make sense, Praveen? Why I don't want to have two states? Oh yeah, no, I understand the previous state, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, because I want to keep track of two things at the same time always, I'll use this multi-dimensional array. If I was using an object, I'd probably use a use reducer, or if I was setting state twice, I'd figure something else out. Because there is the case I could just use a set direction, set panel. Yeah. Cool. I just want to make sure, because that's something I picked up after a while of using the hooks. It's kind of best practice then to use those things. Let's say const. Let's put in some data here. Let's just use some random data rather than putting together the whole thing right now. Let's just see if we can get something working. Const test. The new Armax, very interesting. As soon as they bring out a 32 gigabyte one, I will buy one. The reason I won't buy one right now is because I have a 16 gigabyte i9, and that's what I'm running on actually right now. That's my daily driver. And I know the new MacBook Air with that ARM architecture is actually better than my 16-inch laptop at the moment, but I do not have enough RAM on this machine. So I would wait until I had something else really. Sample, and I'm really being creative, aren't I? Oh, I'm getting tired. I forgot to even declare the variable. Const test data. Are you gonna get one, or are they giving you some MacBooks or new MacBooks in Web Summit, Kieran? If you want, you can sneak me one out after throwing away those laptops for free. Yeah, use reducer is a pretty hefty tool. I even update my managing state using use reducer. Cleaning. Yeah, use reducer is pretty. I use use reducer a lot, especially when I'm using global state. I always jump to use reducer because it tends to get a little bit more complicated. Okay, now where are we at? We have some test data. We want the data here. Well, we're going to put things in a second. We're going to keep track of the index. Const the index is going to be equal to, and this is where this popcorn wrap comes in, and that takes the start, the length. I think it's, so we'll say test data dot length, so that we know what the maximum length is, and then we will have what the actual, I think it's panel.length I want to put in there, or no, it's panel because the panel's a number. So then we'll know the index all the time of where we're at, so that we can update the panels. So, interesting thing about that Docker thing, Kieran. I think that was pre-release. I'm not sure if it's actually broken now. I think that was pre-release problems. So the other nice thing is, the only thing, if they don't get Docker will have to adapt to the Apple ecosystem. Let's be fair. It's not going to be Apple bending to the will of Docker. So that means they'll have to architect Docker to be better and more efficient as well, which will be really cool because we'll get a much faster, better Docker. I didn't think of this until my pal Lucas, who is a much better developer than me, started explaining. He's like, this is probably a good thing if it doesn't work, because they'll have to make it more efficient. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. What are we going to do now? We will have a div. We're going to, yeah, so the panels themselves. Jump in here. Probably ruining the music by talking over it. I'll be quiet. Animate present. So that's when my panels come in and out. And then the motion.div, where the magic happens. And the motion.div is going to take the test data and the index. So this is where this nice wrap, if I spelled this right, test data, yeah. And yeah, it'll be interesting because Docker takes up way too much. I'm doing a lot of Kubernetes and Docker at the moment. I'm trying to be better at it. And geez, Docker is eating the hell out of my machine. Hence why I'm like, I need a 32 gigabyte RAM now. So when you have a UI running and then you have a couple of microservices running, it's a disaster. So it'd be nice if they could get it running a little bit more efficiently. Okay, let's see if we can get something working, because I'm gonna go in about 10 minutes. So I'd like to see if I can get anything going. What do we need? We'll need to keep track of the div. I'm gonna have to open up this. Docs. Oh, no, it's animation. Motion value. Do they not have quick start? I think it's key, isn't it? Key. No. I thought there was a key thing. All right, what I'll do is I will add in. No, I definitely do need variants as well, I think, but I think I need also the key to keep track of which panel is in there. I don't know why I think it's key. Let me just play around with this. Where is the example one? Frame motion, examples. Just so I know which div is there, and it just keeps track of things. So yeah, we have variants. Yeah, I'll want that. And I'll want the direction. That's also something I'll want. It's the index. Also want that. Yeah, key. Okay, I want key. So let's keep, the key is going to be the panel for me though, isn't it? Okay, let's keep this open for a second. I'm gonna copy in some of this stuff. Where did it go? Ah, okay. So key is going to be panel. Or is it the index? We'll figure that out in a second. I'm definitely going to mess something up here because there's so much that moves in these things. We're going to have a drag of X There's drag elasticity. I thought it was elasticity equals, that takes a number between 0 and 1. We'll say 0.9, and it kind of gives you resistance for how much elasticity you want. And then on drag end, which gives us back the event, and then I'm going to, where is it? Offset and velocity. Yeah, that's the ones. Let's take them. In fact, let's take this whole thing in here. This is a great example. Did I grab that? Yeah, let's grab this whole function. Because that way I can't mess it up too much, I think. So they have a paginate function that's going offset x, swipe power. Oh, cool. So you can swipe fast. Elasticity is 1. Drag constraints. I might take this. I'm not sure if I need this, but I'll put it in just in case. Drag constraints, where you can drag it between. And I need this paginate function. What way are they doing the paginate function here? Look, here I am talking about this. This is the way they do it here. They have the page, direction, image index, the exact same. So I can actually just steal this completely. This is excellent. I don't have TypeScript, so say new direction. So set panel really. And direction, new direction. Yeah, so I need, this takes the direction, new direction. And it has some variants. Let's steal the variants here. This will make things faster, I think. I don't need this. And I don't need this. And let's take this. I don't know what this is doing. This is their swipe confidence. That just sounds, I like the idea of that. I am confident in my swipe. I'm going to offset this. I'm guessing this is to do with their offset and things. Paginate, new direction, blah, blah, blah. On drag end. If swipe content, oh yeah, there's the swipe threshold it's using in that. Swipe threshold. And let's take these out as well so we can test it out. Basically what the whole thing. I'm just stealing this whole thing. So let's... What have I taken? Transition, blah, blah, blah. Custom, direction, key. Drag X, drag constraints. Drag elastic, on drag end. And we will need some styles for this, won't I? Where are my style? Where are the styles they have on this? They don't really. Do they have any styles? Initial false, custom direction. I don't know why they have that, but I'm just going to steal it all and see what happens. Okay, page is not defined, which is fine because I'm using panel. Oh, yes. That's exactly what we wanted now. So we can swipe that. That looks pretty slick, doesn't it? I know I copy and pasted most of that there, but let's talk through what things do here, because I think I just stole so much here that doesn't really help if anyone hasn't seen Framer Motion before. So basically what's going on here is, we'll start from the top. The key is to know what panel or what item we're on. When I'm saying drag X, I could say drag Y and it would be up and down. Drag X, I go left and right. The elasticity here is for how much resistance we want to give these. So if I wanted to like just have a little, like if I wanted more resistance, I might actually just put the styles on this a bit so we can see it a bit more. Style equals height 400, background, steal the gradient array. It's pretty cool, isn't it, Paul? There's a link to the code in the description of the video, I think, as well. So you can go in and actually play around and see what's going on here. It might be worth. Let's put a position of. I might need that actually. Background blue, width 100%. I'm not in CSS land right now. Okay, so let's put a position absolute on this. So I might need a style relative, I think, on this. I'll change this all into position. This is what we'll finish off the next day. Position relative, and then this position absolute. Top is going to be 0 and left is going to be 0. Now we're talking. Why? Okay, so now you can see we can hit all of those. We're getting the swiping effect that I wanted. And we should be able to know what value we're on. So I should be able to tell what index we're on. So to go back to where I'm positioned this, because it was jumping around, basically it was going block and line. So the next element was coming in below the other one when they're rendering in. Oh, and lefty. We give it a key to panel, drag X, drag elasticity. So let's put this down to like 0.1 just to show you what happens when we change that. You'll see, look, that's really hard to get going. So I put this to like 1, which is the easiest. It'll flow fluidly with your mouse. Drag constraints are where it stays to drag in. You can't like drag outside of those constraints. So if I put these in as like 400 and 500, like if I just said left 400 there, the constraints should stop. Yeah, you see, that's as far as I can do that. and this one, because I have right as 0, it can go all the way. So there's no constraints here. I think if I delete this, it will just automatically do that. So let me, yeah. We have custom direction. I'm not sure if I need that either. We might. No, it seems to be working well. This stuff is working off the variants. So the variants are the styles I have up here. Okay, so I have a variant of on enter, which takes the direction and returns the either plus or minus 1000 pixels. We have opacity that we're going to start with 0 as it enters, and when it goes to the center or like the active state, we're going to turn the opacity into 1. The X will be 0, so it'll be centered. And then when we leave it, it's going to do the opposite. We're going to reverse that as well. So as you can see, nothing too crazy here. It's just going to go in and out opacity wise. And those variants, just let us say them here. So we say, here's our variants. And then our initial is enter. You just give the keys to each of them. The transition objects here is just giving us some little bit of animation toys on it. And in here on the on drag end, if we console log out this, just so you see what's in here, console.log the offset and the velocity. And I inspect this. We have these offset objects, so you can see where it was offset and the velocity that it's going at. So you can use these in your calculations, basically. The velocity is probably not needed. I probably just need a threshold to say, like, if it's over this point, then they meant to swipe it. So I'm just stealing the velocity because I've never actually used the velocity in that before. But that's using for swipe confidence, as they call it here. And then we're paginating. So when we say paginate function calls this, which takes the new direction, so -1 or +1, and we set the panel with the new direction, panel plus direction, because if it's -1 we're going back 1, and if it's +1 we're going up 1, and then the new direction. So yeah, it's a bit confusing. So if you're a bit confused by that, don't worry. You will get it after a while. It takes a little bit of time looking at it. And what I'll do, if you want to play with this, I'm going to push this up after in about a half an hour, and you can play around with it. But like, as you can see, that's a pretty cool little carousel. So next week, what I'll be able to do is now replace this section with this, so that I'll also be able to like swipe this over and be able to do this, and it should swipe. So I'll also have to pick a direction based on if this is going up or down on the buttons, which will be pretty cool as well. All right. Okay, I think I'm going to call it quits there. I am tired tonight. I might do an extra long stream over the next 2 weeks to try and get this site finished. So if you're in the Discord, stay in touch there. That's probably the easiest way to find out what's the best day for everyone to do this. And until the next one, let's see, where am I? Yeah, until the next one, I'll just see if there's any questions. Anyone have any questions before I go offline? We all good? I'd nearly just sit here and chill out to the music for a while. All right, I think the chat is peaceful, so I am going to call it quits here. All right, until the next one, happy coding.